The shuttle was falling apart. Danny Carter held tight to the controls as fire and smoke filled the small cabin. Warning lights flashed red everywhere. The computer kept saying the same words over and over. Impact in 30 seconds. Impact in 30 seconds. Danny was a pilot for the exploration ship Starbound Hope. He had been sent to check a small planet that no one had ever visited before. It was supposed to be a simple job. Fly down, take some pictures, collect some rocks, and fly back up. But something had gone wrong with the engines. Now he was crashing, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. He pulled hard on the controls and tried to slow the shuttle down. The ground was coming up fast. He could see mountains made of something that looked like glass. There were rivers that shined like silver under the alien sun. It was beautiful, but Danny did not have time to enjoy the view. The shuttle hit the ground hard. Danny felt his body slam against the seat. Then everything went dark. When he woke up, he was lying on the ground outside the shuttle. He did not remember crawling out, but he must have done it somehow. His head hurt badly, and there was blood on his face. He sat up slowly and looked around. The shuttle was destroyed. Smoke was coming from what was left of it. Danny knew right away that he would never fly it again. He checked his communicator, but it was broken too. There was no way to call for help. The Starbound Hope was somewhere up in space, but they would not know where to look for him. This planet was not on any map. Danny stood up slowly. His legs were shaking, but nothing seemed to be broken. He looked at the strange world around him. The sky was a pale purple color. The mountains in the distance were made of some kind of crystal that caught the light and made rainbows everywhere. The ground under his feet was soft, like sand, but it was a deep blue color. It was the most beautiful place Danny had ever seen. It was also the loneliest. He went back to the shuttle and searched through the wreckage. He found some food packs and water containers that had survived the crash. He also found a small tent and a medical kit. It was not much, but it would keep him alive for a few weeks. After that, he did not know what would happen. Danny set up his tent near the shuttle. He ate a small meal and drank some water. Then he sat and watched the sun go down. It was a strange sun, smaller and more orange than the one back on Earth. As it set behind the crystal mountains, the whole sky turned pink and gold. Danny thought about his family back home. He thought about his mother, who had cried when he left for space. He thought about his younger sister, who had told him to bring her back a piece of an alien world. He wondered if he would ever see them again. The next morning, Danny decided to explore. Sitting around and waiting to die was not something he was willing to do. If there was any chance of survival, he would find it. He packed some food and water and started walking toward the mountains. The walk took most of the day. The blue sand was hard to walk through, and the heat from the sun was strong. But Danny kept going. He had always been stubborn. His mother used to say that he would argue with a wall if he thought he was right. As he got closer to the mountains, he noticed something strange. There was a structure built into the side of the largest mountain. It looked old, very old. It was made of black stone that was different from the crystal all around it. There were carvings on the walls, pictures of stars and planets, and strange creatures that Danny did not recognize. Danny walked up to the entrance. It was a large doorway with no door, just an open space leading into darkness. He turned on the small light attached to his suit and stepped inside. The inside of the structure was even more amazing than the outside. The walls were covered with more carvings and with writing in a language Danny had never seen. There were tall pillars holding up a ceiling so high that his light could not reach it. The air was cool and smelled old, like a room that had been closed for a very long time. Danny walked deeper into the structure. He did not know what he was looking for, but something was pulling him forward. It was like a voice in his head, very quiet, telling him to keep going. At the end of a long hallway, he found a large room. In the center of the room was a raised platform, and on the platform was something that made Danny stop and stare. It was a woman. At least, it looked like a woman. She was lying on the platform as if she was sleeping. Her skin was pale silver, and her hair was long and white. She was wearing a dress made of something that looked like starlight. She was the most beautiful thing Danny had ever seen. He walked closer, his heart beating fast. He did not understand what he was looking at. Was she alive? Was she some kind of statue? He reached out his hand, not sure what he was doing, and touched her arm. The moment his fingers touched her skin, her eyes opened. They were not normal eyes. They were filled with light, like looking into two small suns. Danny jumped back in surprise. The woman sat up slowly. She looked at Danny with those glowing eyes, and when she spoke, her voice was like music, like 100 voices speaking at once. "Who are you?" she asked. "Who has awakened me from my sleep?" Danny's mouth was dry. He tried to speak, but no words came out. He swallowed hard and tried again. "My name is Danny Carter," he said. "I am a human from a planet called Earth. I crashed here. I did not mean to wake you up. I am sorry." The woman looked at him for a long moment. Then she did something that surprised Danny. She smiled. "A human," she said. "I have heard of your kind, but I have never met one. I am Valara. I have slept here for 3,000 of your years, waiting for someone to find me." She stood up from the platform and stepped down to stand in front of Danny. She was tall, taller than him, and she seemed to glow with a soft light. "The ancient laws are clear," Valara said. "You have awakened me, and so I must grant you 3 wishes. Ask for anything, and it will be yours." Danny stared at her. 3 wishes. It sounded like something from a children's story. But looking at this strange, beautiful being standing in front of him, he knew that this was real. 3 wishes, he repeated. "Anything I want." "Anything," Valara said. "I have done this many times, for many different beings. I have given kings their empires. I have given warriors their victories. I have given dying men their immortality. Whatever you desire, I can give it to you." She looked at him with something like boredom in her eyes. She had seen this before, many times. She knew what he would ask for. They always asked for the same things, but Valara did not know Danny Carter, and she did not know humans. Danny looked at this ancient goddess, this being of incredible power who had been sleeping alone in a dark temple for thousands of years, and he started to think. Valara waited for Danny to speak. She had done this so many times before that she could already guess what he would say. Some wished for power. Some wished for wealth. Some wished for long life, or for beauty, or for the death of their enemies. In 10,000 years, she had heard every wish that a living mind could imagine, and they were all the same in the end. They were all selfish. She did not blame them. It was the nature of living things to want more, to want to survive, to want to be stronger than others. She had stopped judging them long ago. Now she simply waited, granted their wishes, and went back to sleep until the next one came. But Danny was taking a long time. He was standing there with a strange look on his face, staring at her as if he was trying to figure something out. Valara found herself getting curious, which was unusual. She had not felt curious about anything in a very long time. "Speak your first wish," she said. "Do not be afraid. I have heard every wish there is. Nothing you say will surprise me." Danny nodded slowly. "Can I ask you some questions first?" This was different. Most beings did not ask questions. They simply demanded their wishes as fast as they could, afraid that she might change her mind. But this human wanted to talk. "You may ask," Valara said. "How long have you been doing this?" Danny asked. "Granting wishes, I mean." Valara thought about it. "Longer than your species has existed. I was old when the first humans were learning to walk on 2 legs. I have served thousands of beings from hundreds of different worlds." "That sounds lonely," Danny said. Valara blinked. No one had ever said that to her before. "I do not feel loneliness," she said. "I am beyond such things." But even as she said it, she was not sure if it was true. She had never thought about it before. She simply existed, granted wishes, and slept. Was that loneliness? She did not know. "Okay," Danny said. I think I know what I want to wish for. I'm... Valara prepared herself. Here it came. He would wish for rescue. Probably. Or for his ship to be fixed. Something practical. Humans were supposed to be practical creatures. I wish, Danny said, for you to experience one full day as a human being. Valara stared at him. For the first time in thousands of years, she did not know what to say. What? She finally asked. I want you to be human for a day, Danny said. To feel what we feel. To see the world the way we see it. To be hungry and tired and scared and happy. All the things that humans feel. Valara shook her head. You do not understand. You are stranded on this planet. You have no way to call for help. You will die here unless you wish for something to save yourself. And you want to waste your first wish on me? It is not a waste, Danny said. Why? Valara demanded. Her voice was louder now, filled with confusion. Why would you do this? What do you gain from it? Danny sat down on the stone floor of the temple. He looked up at her with calm eyes. You have been granting wishes for 10,000 years, he said. But you do not understand what it means to need something. You do not know what it feels like to be weak, to be small, to be afraid. How can you grant wishes if you do not understand what it means to want something so badly that it hurts? Valara opened her mouth to argue, but she could not find the words. He was right. She had never wanted anything. She had never needed anything. She had existed outside of need, outside of desire. She gave others what they wanted, but she had no idea what wanting truly felt like. One day, Danny said, that is all I ask. Experience what it means to be human. Then, maybe, you will understand us better. Valara looked at this strange little creature sitting on the floor of her temple. He was going to die on this planet. He probably knew it. And yet he was using his wish to give her something she had never had before. Very well, she said quietly. I will grant your wish. She closed her eyes and let her power flow. It was a strange feeling. Letting go of what she was. Her light began to fade. Her body began to change. She felt herself becoming smaller, weaker, more solid. When she opened her eyes again, everything was different. The temple looked darker, because her eyes could not see as well as before. The air felt cold against her skin, and there was a strange feeling in her stomach, an empty feeling that was almost painful. What is this? She asked, putting her hand on her belly. That is hunger, Danny said with a small smile. It means you need to eat. He reached into his pack and pulled out one of his food bars. He broke it in half and gave one piece to Valara. She looked at it with suspicion, but she put it in her mouth and chewed. Her eyes went wide. This is incredible, she said. I can taste it. I can feel it going into my body. Is this what eating feels like? Danny laughed. That is one of the worst tasting food bars I have. Wait until you try real food. They walked out of the temple together. Valara gasped when she stepped outside. As a goddess, she had seen this planet 1,000,000 times. But as a human, everything looked new. The colors were brighter. The wind on her skin felt cool and pleasant. The warmth of the sun made her feel good in a way she could not explain. It is beautiful, she whispered. It is, Danny agreed. Even when everything is falling apart, there is always something beautiful to see. That is one of the best things about being human. They spent the day together. Danny showed Valara what it meant to be human. They walked through the blue sand, and Valara felt her legs getting tired. She had never felt tired before. Danny explained that it meant her body needed rest. And when they sat down, Valara felt a wonderful feeling of relief. She felt thirst for the first time and drank water from Danny's bottle. It was the most amazing thing she had ever tasted. She felt the heat of the sun and the cool shade of the rocks. She laughed when Danny told her a joke about a pilot and a broken ship, and the feeling of laughing was so strange and wonderful that she laughed again just to feel it. As the sun began to set, Valara felt something else, a tightness in her chest, a feeling of worry. She looked at the darkening sky and felt afraid. "What is this feeling?" she asked Danny. "I do not like it." "That is fear," Danny said gently. "It is getting dark, and you do not know what will happen. Humans feel fear all the time. We live our whole lives knowing that we could die at any moment." Valara shook her head. "How do you bear it? How do you live with this feeling?" Danny smiled. "We find things that make us brave. We find people to care about. We find reasons to keep going, even when we are scared." They sat together and watched the sun set. The sky turned pink and gold and then deep purple. The stars came out, thousands of them, shining in the darkness. Valara looked up at them with new eyes. She had traveled among those stars. She knew their names, and their ages, and their secrets. But she had never seen them like this, through human eyes, feeling small and alone under their endless light. And then, for the first time in her eternal existence, Valara began to cry. Tears ran down her cheeks, and she did not understand why. "Why is water coming from my eyes?" she asked. "Those are tears," Danny said. "It happens when we feel too much. When we are sad, or happy, or overwhelmed." Valara touched her wet cheek. "I have seen beings cry before. I thought it was weakness." "It is not weakness," Danny said. "It is just being alive." Valara looked at him, this small human who had given her something no one else had ever given her. He had given her understanding. He had given her feeling. He had given her a day of life. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for this gift." When the night was over and the sun rose again, Valara felt her power returning. She became a goddess once more, filled with light and strength and immortality. But she was different now. She remembered everything she had felt, the hunger and the fear and the joy and the tears. She would carry those memories forever. She looked at Danny with new eyes. He was still going to die on this planet. He had used his first wish on her, and he still had two more. But she understood him now in a way she had never understood anyone before. And for the first time in 10,000 years, Valara felt something that might have been hope. Valara stood in the morning light, feeling her power flow through her once again. She was a goddess once more. She could move stars if she wanted to. She could create worlds or destroy them. But she could not stop thinking about what she had felt as a human. The hunger, the fear, the simple joy of eating bread and drinking water, the feeling of tired muscles after a long walk, and those tears running down her face as she looked up at the stars. She had existed for longer than most civilizations, but she had never truly lived until yesterday. She looked at Danny, who was sitting near his tent eating one of his food bars. He looked tired. His face was dirty and there were dark circles under his eyes. He had given up his sleeping space for her last night, even though she did not need sleep in her goddess form. That was another thing about humans she did not understand. They gave things away even when they had almost nothing. "You are looking at me strangely," Danny said. Valara realized she had been staring. "I am trying to understand you," she admitted. "You are dying. You know this. And yet you smile. You eat your food as if everything is normal." "How?" Danny shrugged. "What else can I do? Crying will not fix my ship. Being angry will not call for help. I might as well enjoy the time I have left." "But you could have used your wish to save yourself," Valara said. "Why did you not?" Danny was quiet for a moment. He finished his food bar and wiped his hands on his pants. Then he looked up at her with those calm, kind eyes. "Because some things are more important than living," he said. Valara did not understand this. She had seen countless beings fight and kill and betray each other just to survive a few more years. The desire to live was the strongest force in the universe, or so she had always believed. "You humans are strange," she said. Danny laughed. It was a good sound, warm and real. "Yes, we are. We do stupid things all the time. We fall in love with people who hurt us. We fight for causes that have already lost. We give our last piece of bread to strangers. We are a mess." He stood up and stretched his arms. But I think that is what makes us beautiful. We are weak and foolish and we die so easily. But we never stop caring about things. We never stop hoping, even when there is no reason to hope. We hope anyway. Valara thought about all the beings she had met over the thousands of years, the kings and warriors and scholars and priests. They had all wanted the same things: power, safety, control. But this human was different. He wanted something she could not name. "Speak your second wish," Valara said. "You have 2 more remaining." Danny nodded. He walked closer to her and looked up at her face. She was tall in her goddess form, her body glowing with soft silver light. He was just a small, tired man in a dirty suit, but he did not seem afraid of her. "Before I make my wish," he said, "can I ask you something?" "You may. When you are sleeping in that temple, waiting for someone to wake you up, what do you dream about?" The question caught Valara off guard. No one had ever asked her about her dreams before. No one had ever thought about what she might want, or feel, or imagine. "I do not dream," she said. "I simply wait. I have no thoughts, no feelings, nothing. It is like being dead, but not quite." "That sounds terrible," Danny said. "It is my duty," Valara replied. "I was created to serve. The ancient laws bind me to this temple. I cannot leave until my purpose is complete. And my purpose will never be complete, because there will always be someone who wants something." "So you are a slave," Danny said quietly. Valara had never thought of it that way before. She was a goddess. She had power beyond imagination. But she was not free. She had never been free. She did what the ancient laws commanded, and she had no choice in the matter. "I suppose I am," she admitted. The words felt strange in her mouth. Danny nodded as if he had made a decision. "Then I know what my second wish is." Valara prepared herself. Perhaps now he would ask for rescue. Perhaps the human had finally learned his lesson and would think about himself for once. "I wish," Danny said, "for you to be free from the ancient laws that bind you." Valara felt as if the universe had stopped moving. She stared at Danny with her glowing eyes, unable to believe what she had heard. "What did you say?" "I wish for your freedom," Danny repeated. "I wish for the chains that hold you to be broken. I want you to be able to choose your own life, to go where you want, to do what you want. I want you to be free." "You cannot be serious," Valara whispered. "You are dying. You have one wish left after this. And you want to spend it on my freedom?" "Yes." "Why?" Valara's voice was shaking now. She had never shaken before. "Why would you do this? What is wrong with you?" Danny smiled sadly. "Where I come from, freedom is the most important thing there is. My ancestors fought and died for it. They believed that every person has the right to choose their own path. No one should be a slave. Valara, not even a goddess." Valara felt something happening inside her. The ancient laws that had controlled her for thousands of years were beginning to crack. She could feel them breaking apart. The chains that had held her soul falling away piece by piece. It was painful. It was terrifying. And it was the most wonderful feeling she had ever experienced. She fell to her knees as the last of the chains shattered. The power that had been bound by the laws was now truly hers. She was no longer a servant. She was no longer a slave. She was free. For a long time, she stayed on her knees, feeling the change inside her. She could feel the whole universe open up before her. She could go anywhere. She could do anything. She could live for herself for the first time in her existence. When she finally looked up, there were tears in her eyes again. But this time, she was not human. The tears were made of light, shining drops that floated up into the air and disappeared like stars. "How do you feel?" Danny asked softly. I feel everything," Valara said. "I feel the weight of 10,000 years of service lifting from my shoulders. I feel the future stretching out before me, full of possibilities I never knew existed. I feel free." She stood up and looked at Danny. This small, stubborn, impossible human had done something that no being in the history of the universe had ever done. He had freed a goddess. "You should have saved yourself," she said. But her voice was gentle now, filled with something that might have been love. "You are a fool, Danny Carter." "Maybe," Danny agreed. "But I am a fool who did the right thing. That is all anyone can ask for." Valara reached out and touched his face with her glowing hand. He was warm, he was alive, and he was the most remarkable person she had ever met. "You have one wish left," she said. "I am no longer bound by the ancient laws. I could simply refuse to grant it. But I will not. I want to grant it. For the first time in my existence, I want to help someone, not because I have to, but because I choose to." She stepped back and spread her arms wide. The glow around her grew brighter. "Make your final wish, Danny Carter. And make it count." Danny looked at this beautiful, powerful being standing before him. He had one wish left. One chance to save himself. To go home. To see his family again. He thought about his mother's face. He thought about his sister's laugh. He thought about the blue skies of Earth, and the smell of rain and all the things he might never see again. And then he thought about Valara, who had been alone for 10,000 years, who had never had a friend, who had never known kindness until he showed it to her. Danny knew what he had to do. Danny stood in the shadow of the ancient temple, looking at the goddess he had freed. She was glowing brighter than before, her silver light filling the air around them. She was beautiful and powerful and free, and she was waiting for his final wish. He thought about everything that had happened since he crashed on this strange planet. He thought about the fear he had felt when his shuttle was falling apart. He thought about the loneliness of those first hours, when he believed he would die alone on an empty world. And he thought about Valara, sleeping in her dark temple for thousands of years, waiting for someone to wake her up. She had been alone for so long. Even when she was granting wishes to kings and warriors, she had been alone. No one had ever talked to her. No one had ever asked her how she felt. No one had ever cared about her as a person instead of a tool to be used. Danny's heart hurt when he thought about it. 10,000 years of loneliness. It was too much. It was too sad. He could not let her go back to that. "Danny," Valara said gently, "make your wish. I know what you want. You want to go home. You want to see your family again. Let me give that to you." Danny shook his head slowly. "That is not my wish." Valara's face changed. The soft look in her eyes became hard, almost angry. "Do not do this. Do not throw away your last chance. I have watched you for 2 days now. I know you love your family. I know you want to live. Stop being foolish and ask for what you need." "I am not being foolish," Danny said. "I am being human." He took a deep breath and let it out slowly. The air on this planet was sweet and clean, not like the recycled air on the starward Hope. He wondered if this was the last breath of fresh air he would ever take. "I wish," Danny said, "for you to never feel alone again." Valara stared at him. The glow around her flickered and dimmed. For a long moment, she did not speak, did not move, did not even seem to breathe. "What?" she finally whispered. "You have been alone for 10,000 years," Danny said. "You have watched civilizations rise and fall. You have seen stars be born and die. But you have always been by yourself, with no one to share it with. That is the cruelest fate I can imagine." He walked toward her and took her glowing hand in his small human hand. Her skin was warm, almost hot, but he did not pull away. "My wish is that wherever you go in this universe, you will find connection. You will find friendship. You will find people who care about you, not because of what you can give them, but because of who you are. I wish for you to have what everyone deserves but few ever find. I wish for you to have love. I wish for you to have love." Valara's hand was shaking in his. Her light was flickering wildly now, like a candle in a strong wind. The tears of light were falling from her eyes again, floating up into the purple sky. "You fool," she said, but her voice was broken. "You beautiful, stupid, wonderful fool." Do you understand what you have done? You have given everything to a stranger. You have thrown away your life for someone you met 2 days ago. You are not a stranger, Danny said. Not anymore. You are my friend. Valara made a sound that was half laugh and half sob. She had never had a friend before. She had not even known what the word meant until now. Why? She asked. I have met thousands of beings from hundreds of worlds. Creatures with great intelligence, with ancient wisdom, with power that could shake the foundations of reality. But none of them, not one, would have done what you have done. Why are humans different? Why are you different? Danny thought about the question carefully. He wanted to give her an answer that was true. I do not know if humans are special, he finally said. We are weak. We live short lives. We make mistakes all the time. But we have learned something over our history, something that took us a long time to understand. He looked up at the purple sky, at the alien stars that were starting to appear as the sun went down. We learned that life is not about how long you live or how much power you have. Life is about the connections you make, the people you love, the kindness you show to others. In the end, when everything else is gone, those are the only things that matter. He looked back at Valara with a small smile. I am going to die on this planet. I know that. But I do not want my last act to be a selfish one. I want to leave something good behind. I want to know that because of me, you will never be alone again. That is worth more than my life. Valara pulled him into an embrace. Her arms wrapped around him, and her light surrounded him like a warm blanket. She was crying openly now, her tears of light filling the air like stars. You humans, she said against his hair. You impossible, beautiful humans. I have seen wonders that your mind cannot imagine. I have watched galaxies spin and suns explode, but I have never seen anything as beautiful as the heart of a human being. They stood there together as the night fell around them. The stars came out, thousands and thousands of them, filling the sky with light. Danny was tired. He had not slept well in days. But he felt peaceful. He had done what he believed was right, and that was enough. You should eat something, Valara said eventually, pulling back from the embrace. You need to keep up your strength. Danny laughed weakly. Why? What is the point? The point is that you are still alive, Valara said firmly. And as long as you are alive, you should live. That is what you taught me. Remember? She walked with him back to his small camp. She watched as he ate one of his food bars and drank some water. She sat beside him as he wrapped himself in his thin blanket and looked up at the stars. Tell me about Earth, Valara said. Tell me about your home. So Danny told her. He told her about the blue oceans and the green forests. He told her about the cities with their millions of lights. He told her about rain and snow and sunshine. He told her about his mother, who made the best apple pie in the world. He told her about his sister, who wanted to be a doctor and save people's lives. Valara listened to every word. She created images in the air with her power, showing Danny the Earth as she saw it from space. It was a tiny blue dot in the darkness, surrounded by nothing but empty space. But to Danny, it was the most important place in the universe. It is beautiful, Valara said. It is home, Danny replied. As the night went on, Danny's eyes began to close. He was exhausted, both in body and in spirit. He had given everything he had, and now there was nothing left to do. But wait, go to sleep, Valara said softly. I will watch over you. Will you still be here when I wake up? Danny asked. His voice was sleepy, like a child's. Valara smiled down at him. I will be here, I promise. Danny nodded and closed his eyes. Within moments, he was asleep, his breathing slow and steady. Valara sat beside him through the night. She watched the stars move across the sky. She felt the wind blow through her silver hair, and she thought about what she had learned from this small, brave human who had given her more than anyone else in 10,000 years. She was free now. She could go anywhere in the universe. She could explore distant galaxies, meet other civilizations, do whatever she wanted. But looking at Danny's sleeping face, She knew exactly what she wanted to do. The ancient laws no longer controlled her. She did not have to grant wishes anymore. But she had made a choice. A real choice. For the first time in her existence, she chose to save him. Not because she had to, not because some ancient power commanded it, but because she wanted to. Because he had shown her what it meant to care about someone else. Because he was her friend. Because that was what it meant to be truly free. Danny woke to the warmth of sunlight on his face. For a moment, he forgot where he was. He thought he was back on the Starward Hope, in his small bunk, with the gentle hum of the ship's engines around him. Then he remembered. The crash. The temple. Valara. He sat up quickly and looked around. Valara was still there, sitting on a rock nearby, watching him with those eyes full of starlight. "Good morning," she said. "You stayed," Danny said. He was surprised. He had half expected to wake up alone, the goddess gone to explore her new freedom. "I told you I would," Valara replied. "I keep my promises now. It is a new feeling. I like it." Danny stretched his tired muscles and stood up. His body ached from sleeping on the hard ground. His stomach was empty, and his water supply was getting low. He had maybe 3 or 4 more days before things would become truly desperate. "I have been thinking," Valara said. She stood up and walked toward him. "About you. About what you did for me. About what it means." "And what did you decide?" Danny asked. Valara stopped in front of him. She was glowing softly in the morning light, more beautiful than anything Danny had ever seen. But there was something different about her now. There was warmth in her eyes that had not been there before. "I decided that you are the most remarkable being I have ever met," she said. "In 10,000 years, across 1,000 galaxies, I have never found anyone like you. You had 3 wishes. You could have asked for anything, and you used all 3 of them on me. You deserved them," Danny said simply. "No." Valara shook her head. "I did not deserve anything. I was a tool. A servant. A machine that granted wishes. But you saw something more in me. You saw a person. You gave me understanding, freedom, and connection. The 3 things I never knew I needed." She reached out and took his hands in hers. Her skin was warm and soft. "The ancient laws are gone," she said. "I am not bound by them anymore. I do not have to grant wishes. I do not have to serve anyone. For the first time in my existence, I can do whatever I want." Danny nodded. "So what do you want to do?" Valara smiled. It was a real smile, full of warmth and joy. "I want to save you." Danny blinked. "What?" "I want to fix your ship. I want to give you supplies. I want to open a path through space that will take you home to Earth. I want to do for you what you did for me." End quote. Danny's heart started beating faster. "But you do not have to do that. You are free. You should go and explore the universe. You should not waste your freedom on me." "It is not a waste," Valara said. She was using his own words against him. And they both knew it. "It is a choice. My choice. For the first time in my life, I am choosing to help someone, not because I have to, but because I want to." Danny felt tears forming in his eyes. He tried to blink them away, but they fell down his cheeks anyway. He had accepted his death. He had made peace with it. And now this goddess was giving him something he had never expected to receive: hope. "Why?" he asked, his voice breaking. Valara pulled him into another embrace. "Because you taught me what it means to care about someone. Because you showed me that the greatest gift is not power or immortality, but kindness. Because you are my friend, Danny Carter, and I do not want my friend to die." She stepped back and raised her hands. Power flowed from her fingertips, silver light that spread out across the landscape. Danny watched in amazement as his broken shuttle began to repair itself. The twisted metal straightened. The shattered glass reformed. The damaged engines came back to life with a soft hum. In minutes, the shuttle was whole again. Better than new. It gleamed in the sunlight, like it had just come off the assembly line. But Valara was not done. She waved her hand again, and the inside of the shuttle filled with supplies. Food, water, medical equipment, everything Danny would need for the journey home. Then she created something even more amazing. A shimmering portal in the air beside the shuttle. A doorway made of pure light. "That will take you home," she said. "It leads directly to your Earth. You will arrive in just a few hours." Danny stared at the portal, then at the shuttle, then at Valara. He did not know what to say. He felt like he was dreaming. "I do not know how to thank you," he finally managed. Valara shook her head. "You do not need to thank me. You gave me something far more valuable than a ride home. You gave me a reason to exist. You gave me something to care about." She reached up and touched his face gently. "But I want you to do something for me." "Anything," Danny said. "When you get home, tell your people about me. Not as a goddess, not as a being of power, but as a person. Tell them that somewhere out there in the universe, there is someone watching over them, someone who learned what it means to love from a human." Danny nodded. "I will. I promise." Valara smiled. "And tell them to keep being human. Keep being foolish and brave and kind. Keep caring about things that do not make sense. Keep hoping when there is no reason to hope. That is what makes your species special. That is what makes you the most beautiful creatures in the universe." Danny climbed into his shuttle. The controls lit up around him, familiar and welcoming. He strapped himself in and looked at Valara through the window. "Will I ever see you again?" he asked. Valara's smile grew softer. "Look up at the stars sometime. When you see a light that seems to shine a little brighter than the others, that will be me. I will be watching over your people." Danny, not as a goddess demanding worship, but as a friend, a guardian, someone who finally understands what it means to care. Danny started the engines. They hummed perfectly, better than they ever had before. He guided the shuttle toward the portal, toward home. At the last moment, he looked back at Valara. She was standing on the blue sand, her silver light shining against the purple sky. She raised her hand in farewell. Danny raised his hand back. Then he flew into the portal, and the light swallowed him whole. The journey home was smooth and quiet. Danny had time to think about everything that had happened. He thought about the wishes he had made and the goddess he had freed. He thought about what it meant to be human and why that mattered. When Earth appeared in his window, blue and green and beautiful, Danny felt tears rolling down his face again. He had never thought he would see it again. He had accepted that he would die on that distant planet, but here he was, alive and whole, flying home. The starward Hope found him an hour later. They had been searching for him ever since he disappeared. Captain Ben Morrison could not believe it when Danny's shuttle appeared on their sensors. Flying perfectly through space, Danny returned to his ship as a hero, though he did not feel like one. He had just done what any human would do, he said. He had helped someone who needed it. The years passed. Danny retired from space exploration and went back to Earth. He lived a quiet life with his family. He watched his sister become a doctor, just like she had always dreamed. He sat with his mother on her porch and ate her apple pie and told her stories about the stars. But sometimes, on quiet nights, Danny would go outside and look up at the sky, and there, among all the stars, he would see one that seemed to shine a little brighter than the others. He would smile and wave, and somewhere out there, across the vast emptiness of space, he knew that Valara was waving back. She kept her promise. She watched over humanity, protecting them from dangers they never even knew about. She guided lost ships home. She whispered warnings to those who would listen. She became the guardian that humanity never knew they had. And when other beings across the galaxy asked her why she cared so much about those small, fragile creatures on their tiny blue planet, Valara would simply smile. "Because they taught me how to love," she would say. "And that is worth more than all the power in the universe." Somewhere on Earth, an old man looked up at the stars and smiled. He had given everything he had to a stranger, and in return, He had received something far greater than he could have ever imagined. He had found a friend among the stars. And that was the best wish of all.